Hi, welcome to What's Your Story. In life, there's one thing sure to follow you when you are on top of your career. That is controversy. My guest today is a man who was subject to such controversy when he became a CEO of a GLC company. Welcome, Dato C.M Vignaesvaran.
Hi, Mr. Ganesh.
Okay, now you worked in a fish head curry restaurant.
Yes.
How did you end up as a CEO of HRDF?
Actually, my life started in Cheras 3.5 mile. Actually, it's 3.25 mile. So we changed it to 3.5 because Tigasuku is considered to be like a crazy first place. It was quite a crazy area. Cheras those days, it was not what is now. It's like what is now. It was filled with vegetable farm. And I actually was born and I grew up in a sort of a Chinese environment. So I was the only brown boy running around all the yellow flags around there.
So I assume you must be very good in Chinese?
Yeah, I picked up Cantonese as my mother tongue actually. So I because all my friends were speaking Cantonese, so I grew up learning Cantonese first before Tamil actually. My mother told me that. And in the house we conversed in Tamil. So Cantonese came first and later Tamil. So Cantonese took to me until now.
Just to get the facts right, your mother is a Tamil, right?
Yes, she's a Tamil.
No, when you said mother tongue, so I don't want the audience to be confused, thinking that, oh, you had a Chinese mother or something like that.
But interestingly enough, we were staying in a Stingan house. A Stingan house where half of the house was rented by my family. The other half rented by the Anyap mother. So we call him Anyap's mother. So we were actually, she was like another mother to me.
Godmother.
Like a godmother to me, exactly. Because in the later part of my years when I was there, formative years, my mother started putting up shops and stuff like that. So she actually took care of us more than my mother. So in a way, I would say it's my mother tongue. So to be right, as I said, I always tell people, what do you call sek kong siu siu la sek teng ho to tit la. My Cantonese la. So I still remember that I did that. So I grew up there. As I said, Cheras was at that point of time was a center of all the bad things. I used to remember even the police don't dare to step in. It was a gangster filled area. I've seen all kind of horrors in my life. By the time when I was 10 years old, people taking parang, chasing each another, chopping
What
each
was
another
your father
off.
doing?
My father had a shop there. We had a shop there, a makan shop there, a restaurant. And so he actually found the place. There's a two part to the area. So one, you have a commercial area, like all old towns, like a Pony Express town. So you have a row of shop houses, then you have the kampung behind it. And there was around 10 to 12 shops around it.
It's something like a Chinese New Village lah.
Yes, exactly, something like that. Jalan Pudu Ulu lah. Jalan Pudu Ulu Lama, they call that area lah. So there was a mining pool.
It was a very notorious area at that time, right?
Extremely notorious. I mean, by the time I was 6 years old, I've seen people how they pack heroin and move around. So what they will do, they will cut the straw into half. Then they will put a few grams of heroin. They will use the what they call candle to light it up, and they will put it into their noses.
This was in the 80s?
Late 70s, early 80s. So that's how notorious was that area lah. So what my parents thought, education was the best thing to lift us from the area. So they were very determined. So my father decided to put me in Pasar Road School. So we started in Pasar Road School. I studied in Pasar Road School. Pasar Road School was a feeder school for BI at that point of time. And after that I went to Cochrane. Then after that I went to university. So my formative years was there. So younger days I was extremely naughty. I was one of the most naughtiest guy. I mean naughty and also very rebellious. And the sense of I don't like people to be bullied. So we had 16 or 17 of us who were about almost the same age group. So anyone bullies us, so I will be the leader who takes takes things into my hand. So there was one guy.
The gangster area came well with it, I guess.
Yeah, I think gave us the right kind of thing. So one guy, what he used to do is he used to pinch us a lot. So one day we all ganged up. I said, okay, we need to teach the guys a lesson. So I was the mastermind. So all of us got up on a tree. So a few trees here and there. We elastic the floor until we broke his head. Of course, later he complained to my father, and my father came and walloped me. Then later when he found out what he did to us, then he went and walloped him.
I see. So you actually was quite well off when you were young days and all that?
Not actually, sir. We went through a lot of hardship in our life. I mean, my father had a shop and it went bankrupt. So we lost everything. In fact, at that point of time, even my sister, she was the youngest sister, we don't have money to buy powdered milk. So my mother, what she will do is she will get condensed milk, she will mix it and she will give her. She was around 1 year old. So that was our early life. I mean, you have heard the stories where people eat tapioca when they go hungry and stuff like that, and that is what we went through also in the 70s. That was our early life. So we went through a lot of tough food. So what my mother did, one point of time, as I said, I was very naughty and very brash. I was running around, I fell down and my head was swollen. And my father didn't have 2 ringgit to bring me to the hospital. So what happened, we stopped a taxi. I still remember that particular episode. It was a scary episode for me because everyone thought my head was broken. And I stopped a taxi and begged the taxi uncle and said, please take my son to the hospital. Look, he's in this situation. So after that, we came back. I was fine. A bee sting me. I got stung by the bee. And I ran and I fell and people thought my head was broken, but actually it was the bee sting. So drama for no reason. So we went there. And I was the eldest son and the only son, and I was born after almost 20 plus years to my father. So they took it a bit seriously, but nevertheless, after that my mother decided, told my father, you can do whatever you want. I want to start my own business. So at a point of time, she said she learned how to do nasi lemak. There was a makcik in our in the area there, taught her how to do nasi lemak, sambal and stuff like that. And she actually took a 20 ringgit loan to give my mother. She said, I will buy to buy the apparatus for the nasi lemak, the wooden crate, the kuali and stuff like that. Last time you cook, you don't have a rice cooker and stuff like that, so you boil it using the charcoal. So we gave that there and we started it off. So the first formative years of the business, what we used to do is my mother will carry 50 packs of nasi lemak in each hand. She was a very small size petite, I mean totally opposite of me. She always maintained 50 kilos until she passed away. Anytime she go 2 kilos, she will diet, she will bring it back to 50 kilos again. So she was that small. But we used to carry 50 packets of nasi lemak in each hand, and I was the bodyguard for her. I was 5-6 years old. We will walk 2 kilometers every day. So we will start with Bashir uncle's shop, Hanifa uncle, then Kamarul uncle, then after that the last will be Khalid's uncle's shop, and that will be the Pudu Pasar nearby there. And we will take a bus back. So bus was 20 cents. So we started off like that. So my mother started earning a bit more money. Then we had a stall. Someone said, why don't you put a stall? Then we put a stall. That was a big argument with my father also, because my father said, you need to cook and take care of the children. She said, don't worry, I will do everything. And at the same time take care of the business, which she did. Which she did. And that was...
She's very versatile.
Versatile, and she was a woman that I adored. So she will wake up every day 4 o'clock in the morning, and she will sleep at 10 o'clock in the night. That was her routine. Every day, not even one day off. So a lot of work ethics came from her to me. Every day that day. And the only holiday she took was Deepavali day. And that was only 3 days of Deepavali. So pre-Deepavali, we will close the shop, Deepavali day and the next day. And even then, she will cook in the house. So she never complained about had to work hard and stuff like that. So it's always on the move, always working, and of course bringing up her children was the most important thing for her. So we did that. And when they passed away, we had almost 3 restaurants. We did multiple businesses like that point of time. We had a video center, we had a supermarket, we did so many other businesses, but what stuck with us was the restaurant. So when I was working anywhere, so I had this kind of ego in I wouldn't say it's an ego.
When did this fish head restaurant come up?
It was there. It was there. Actually, when after the stall, we started a restaurant. Kari Kepala Ikan. At that time, Kamarul uncle was the partner, and we partnered with him.
This was the famous Kari Kepala Ikan Cheras.
Yes, right. Beside the railway. Last time there used to be a railway line in the Tasik cement. Those days, 70s, early 70s and 60s. There used to be a train running from Cheras to KL. So the last stop will be that place, the Taman Maluri. Now they call it Taman Maluri. It was a Cheras stop. So you can actually get on the train and stop in Lokyu. We are in Pasar, Pudu Pasar, then Lokyu, then KL. So, but after that, it became a Tasik Cement Center, where they had the cement center and the cement locomotives were running. Now it's a LRT station.
So you all were part owners of this
correct. We were part owners of that. Then later Mr. Kamarul passed away.
That's when you ended up working in the restaurant.
Yeah, I started working when my mother started packing nasi lemak. Mostly in the name of helping her, giving her more trouble.
Okay.
And after that, we started, so I would always tell people, if I don't have a job, I will go back to do roti canai. I can still do it. So a lot of people ask me to do it.
So you're cooking for your wife nowadays?
Not so much. I hope she doesn't see this interview. But yeah. So the whole works of it, running a restaurant. The whole works of it.
So then after that, you were in secondary school and
I always took leadership role. As I said, I always took leadership role and fighting for people. I'm a sort of a bit of a lefty, sir. I'm a bit of a lefty. So I believe that bourgeois shouldn't control the people. That feeling always is in me. So we always must fight the right for people. So I was a consumer class president when I was in secondary school. I was doing the whole thing. Then I didn't do well in my SPM. SPM I got a 7 in BM, so I couldn't go to government school. And what I did was I decided not to study. I went to work as a bill collector in Singa, Malaysia.
Okay.
So I was doing it for a couple of months. One day I came back home, the whole Jimbang family was at home, and all of them said, you have to go back studying. So I skipped lower 6. Actually, I joined at the tail end of lower 6, and then I went to Form 6. So straight away took upper 6. Then I did reasonably well, and I went to university. So I was in UKM for 4 years. UKM years was very colourful years. I think if I did a quarter of how I studied in Form 6, I would have been a first class student. But unfortunately, UKM was all about social work and society work and those kind of things. I think that took a lot of my time, rather than really studying for exams.
So what are the club's president you were in?
I was the senator for my CAMSIS. I was a senator for my CAMSIS. I got sort of elected among all the Malays. And I was the Hindu Society chairman. We call it Perwakilan Agama Hindu at that point of time. And we ran a lot of projects and stuff like that. So, and I was very active in SMC those days. I used to teach Sastra Melayu in SMC. So for Form 6 Sastra Melayu and also Form 5 Sastra Melayu, I used to teach there. So travel all around Malaysia. So as you see, I don't have any time to study.
So any of your gangster thing helped you in the university days? You didn't get them to rag you or something like that?
Actually, I was anti-ragging to a lot of extent. When I became the Perwakilan Agama Hindu president, I went out, I said, you can get to know people. I said, orientating people is not so bad, but you don't physically abuse people. So there was one incident where one of the juniors were physically and almost sexually abused. One boy. So I took up the case. I sort of made complaints and stuff like that. Later, that case turned against me. They convinced the boy to make a report against me and say that he's the one who forced him to make a false report.
Okay.
So it was an interesting turmoil time. So my life has always been like that. Controversies and turmoil. I mean, like what Winston Churchill said, right? If you don't have enemy, you didn't do anything right. So I had an opinion, I took a stand for it, and I made a lot of enemies actually.
So you became enemy with the, what do you call it in university, HEP?
Yes, right, high level pelajar. So there was another incident actually. There's a couple of incidents that happened. One is, of course, when we went in, they will serve us a beef curry at the point of time. So first day was beef curry, specialty. A lot of Indians, of course, Chinese, most of them, if you're a Buddhist Chinese, you don't take beef. So the second year, when we went through the same process, our juniors complained the same thing. We decided to do something about it. Myself, Muthuramu, he did engineering. So we all got together. We said, okay, we will bring it up to HEP. And we actually brought it up to the HEP. And at that point, one unpleasant incident happened at that point of time. So they said, what's wrong with taking beef curry? You just remove the beef and eat the curry. So I retorted by saying the other thing.
Okay.
I think I shouldn't bring it up here. And that caused a big fight. But nevertheless, we went to see the VC. He was much more, understanding. So from the next year onwards, he said, you pay 10 ringgit
Mm-hmm.
because we paid for the food.
Mm.
I said it is not free, we pay for the food. So he gave us 10 ringgit and said at that point of time they had this Abang AJKO, what they call people who actually guide you through the process, the seniors lah. So he gave us the money, we buy them proper food and we bring them. And also we made sure that every Friday that we bring people to temple and those kind of things lah. So we infuse those techniques lah. So another incident happened which really almost got me sacked from university. Expelled from university was I don't know, for some strange reason, every end of the year when the exams come, there will be no water in UK.
Okay.
Imagine 200 plus in a hostel with limited number of toilet and there's no water for 1 week.
Oh, tell us about it. We are in Selangor. Okay.
So it was that bad. So one day myself and the other students leaders got together. What we did, we wore towel, we took a pail and we went and sat in front of VC's office.
Okay.
You see, there's no water in our place. So I think there's water in your building. We should be allowed to take bath and do things there. So it became a big issue. Later, water was restored. So that was one of the couple of things that happened. So I think if there's a famous poem, it's something like, when you see something wrong happening in front of you, you should do something to stop it. If you don't do it, it will come and affect you one day. So they came for the trade unionists, the poem goes that way. So later the Nazis came for people. When they came for me, there was no one for me to talk about me, to fight about me. So I think I always believe that. So whether the method is right or wrong, it depends on people who see it, but you have to do something about it. So
it's more than the method, it's whether you're lucky or not.
Yeah,
because most of the time people who protest and all that, they get expelled in the university.
Yeah.
You survived.
Yes. But there were a lot of other people who were much more radical than me. So I sort of considered not so radical. So I think comparatively I was not so bad. So we had a lot of other friends who did a bit more things, a bit more drastic things for the society and stuff like that. So I was considered quite middle.
So what was your first job?
Okay, after I graduated, I came out, I joined my uncle. We did a construction company. We actually got a project in KLIA, KLCC, Sungai Udang, refinery stations and stuff like that. So I was like one leg kick all. That means because I was the nephew, so I was in charge of accounts, purchasing, running around, driving car, becoming driver. So everything I did for the last for 2 years I was involved with them. It was a multi-million-dollar project. I think it crossed almost 400 million. It was a very big project in the 90s, mid 90s, and we did very well. We actually landed a lot of jobs. We were supplier for TNB telecoms, and also we were one of the biggest suppliers at that point of time. When the downturn came, things started going south. So up to a level where I was asked to leave, the company was didn't do very well. I think they closed down the operation, so I left. And after I left, I decided not to go back home. So I said, look here, I cannot be sitting in the house. I want to do something. I need to earn some money. So I had a good friend in Terengganu, Srigan Babu. So I went and stayed in his house. He got me a job as a clerk.
Actually, you were worried not to stay back because you might end up working in the restaurant.
Exactly, that's the reason why I don't want to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning to do roti canai.
That is some motivation, yeah.
So yeah. But again, so I was working there for a while, and then I landed a job as a sales guy. They call it a digital sales specialist, selling
this
audio
is in
communications.
Terengganu?
No, I came back to KL. I went for an interview. I came back and I got a job as a digital sales specialist in Inchcape, Malaysia. The brand I was selling was called Gestet. If you remember the old school cycle style machines, they had that brand. So I was working for them. And that point of time, I actually was infused to the corporate culture. So had a very fantastic boss. He was not very nice person, but he was a good boss. So there's two different things.
Yes.
Nice person and a good boss is two different versions. So he was not a fantastic person, but he was a fantastic boss. He taught me a lot about getting numbers, achieving numbers, how do you do it, how do you plan, how do you make sure that you achieve your target, how do you monitor those kind of things and stuff like that. So you kept on monitoring. You don't micromanage people, but at the same time you need to keep your hands, you need to keep your tab and know what is happening and stuff like that. So that was his thingy. So I was doing sales for a while, and interestingly enough, for the first 3 months I didn't do any sales. Imagine a big size fella. I had a bigger mustache at that point of time, walking into doors and knocking and asking people to buy machines from me. So they won't open the door. They will just open a little bit, give me a brochure, they will let you go. They will chase you away.
Don't tell me this was Bentong Kali time or something.
Yeah, exactly. It was after Bentong Kali time actually. It was I think a couple of years after Bentong Kali's time. So I had a earring also. It didn't help also. So a person who helped me was Hao Tating. So what he did, he got a sale of a machine. He gave me the sale. He said, break your egg.
Oh, okay.
So he gave me his sales, and that was my first sale. I must give credit to him. And after that, I started doing a lot of machines. Hard work, sir. We have to walk into at least 20 companies a day. Canvassing, they call it canvassing. So you have to bring the bag, you have to make sure you meet people, you talk to 20 people a day. True enough, that worked actually. So there was one company who was building hospitals at the point of time. They needed around 30-hour machines. So I walked in like day after day, the guard chased me out. After that, I bypassed the guard, went to the receptionist. The receptionist chased me out. Then one day I told her, look here, please give this brochure to the purchasing guy. I left. 2 days later, the guy called me and said, I need 30 machines, give me a quote. That was my biggest sale at point of time. Then after that, I was doing sales. After that, then I worked in DG for a while, sales also. Then I joined Sharp. Sharp, I spent quite a number of years. It's a Japanese company. I was the network support engineer. So a lot of people be a bit more surprised. They said, my basic degree was in marketing actually. I did BBA in UKM, and I specialized in marketing. And suddenly I am a IT support guy. So I started learning programming when I was, when I was in standard 2, standard 3. Basic, Pascal, those kind of things. We started learning a bit more programming.
Who encouraged you to study?
My mother.
My mother?
Yes, right, my mother. So she actually earned a bit more extra to send me for classes. And classes for computers were expensive at that point of time.
And computers are new, isn't it?
Extremely new. That time we had IBM-based PC. Apple was too expensive. Then there's IBM computers were out. And I still remember the brand of the computer lab we used to work was Pineapple.
Yeah, last time we had Pineapple.
Pineapple brand. So interesting enough, I knew the owner later part of my life. So we started learning, and I think the fees was 35 ringgit, which was crazy at 80s.
I think so. These helped you with
definitely
the Sharp job and all that.
Yeah. So when I went for the job, I took CCNA, then CCNE. Then Cisco certified network administrator, Cisco certified network engineer. Then I did my MCP, Microsoft certified program. So I did all these kind of examinations. I started dabbling into network printing and the whole thing. So when I was working there, I was one of the very few people who can handle AS400 in my company. So AS400 system and stuff like that. Because that point of time was people were moving from the old technology, the old kind of network system to the new TCP/IP systems. Like last time they had NetBEUI, all these kind of novel architecture and stuff like that. They were moving into PC based, and I was there at that point of time, so I learned the whole thing. So 10 years I was there, and there was a restructuring where my old boss left, and a new boss came in. He was an Indian guy.
Okay.
I didn't get along with him, so I left. He was a nice guy, just that we don't get along. Different kind of working style. In Sharp, I was given a full freedom at that point of time because support people, we had centers who were working 24 hours a day. So we had to go for a call 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, then come back, and so we were given a full flexibility. But nevertheless, it didn't work out too well. So I left to Sapura. In hindsight, it was a good decision. So I was in Sapura for a year plus. I had around 70 engineers working for me. We were doing downstream activities, mostly on network support and PC. Then after that, I joined Jobstreet.
Okay.
So Jobstreet was one of the best working environment. It was a very American-based kind of work environment where we had all the owners were from MIT, brilliant guys, and Suresh was there. Dr. Albert was there, and of course Mark was there. Mark was one of the founders of Jobstreet, and that idea of doing jobs online was a revolutionary thing. So and the management style as how they worked. I still remember there was one point of time where we had a second wave of SARS came in. A lot of stocks were going down and stuff. There were rumors that the company would go bust. So what Mark did, he brought a table. He is a short guy, like 5 foot something. He got on the table. He said, "Please ask me a question. If it's a tough question, I'll give you 50 ringgit." So the engagement between you and staff is exemplified to that. That means he said, you can ask me any question. So that breaks the barrier of management and also the staff. So most of the companies, they don't have an open management system. They have a management system where it is secluded. The senior management is very secluded. They run in a quite a, for lack of a word, like secret service like that. They said we cannot reveal all our plans to people because it might sound that. But this is a totally different kind of environment where the bosses actually interact very well. They are hands-on to people and stuff like that. So from there, I got an invitation to join HRDF through one of my bosses. And they said, "Vix, why don't you try it out? See, if you get a job, good. No means you'll be working here." And at that point of time, they were looking for an Indian to work in HRDF. That's how I got in. I must state the fact. It was Indian quota. At the time was Dato C.M Vignaesvaran was the minister. So, but I went through interview. There were 15 other Indian guys over there, and somehow my boss liked me. Dato Amir really liked me. So I got a job. And I started my career in HRDF as a general manager for grant department, training grant department. So I had 40 people working for me at that point of time. We were in charge of modernizing the whole levy grant system. What happened was at that point of time there were a lot of manual process. The forms like 8 pages long. So the first thing I was asked to do is make it fully automated to make sure that corruption is weeded out, because everything goes online. It's all tracked. If they purposely hold the file for more than 1 day, an email comes to me and I can question back to them and ask them why is the file being held and stuff like that. So there were a lot of processes.
So you made HRDF more efficient?
In a way. In a way, extremely efficient.
They promoted
you? Yeah. So after that they promoted me. So what we did was we brought the processing of grant to 2 days. You email today, 24 hours later, our internal KPI was 1 day, external KPI is 2 days. What we tell other people is 2 days. So by 2 days, you should get a reply whether it can or cannot. And we made the whole thing seamlessly. So and later part of the day, after a couple of years, then there was a vacancy for the deputy CEO. I think around 5 of us applied. There was 2 vacancies, so I got into deputy CEO of operations. From there, then I worked a couple of more years over there, and we ran a lot of projects. And the CEO seat became vacant, but it was filled by 2 other people. 2 other people before I got in. In a year, there was almost like a 3 CEO change. Don't ask me why, what happened and stuff like that. I think.
So that time you were still the deputy.
I was still the deputy. I was a bystander. After the 3rd CEO change, I went to the minister, Dato Sri Richard. I asked him, "Can you give me an opportunity?" I said, so again, I was a trained sales guy. So you see an opportunity, you're going to ask. My late mother always makes this remark to me. She will say that in Tamil is alagara pulla dhaan paal kudikonu. So if you don't cry, you don't get the milk. If you don't ask, you won't get it. The worst answer you can get is no.
No.
Is a no. I mean,
yes, true.
So I took the chance. I went and asked him. I said, "Why don't you give me a job? Give me the job as a CEO." So he said, "Okay, since I got 2 people who didn't work out well, why don't you take it up?" So he gave me an acting CEO job. I was acting for almost 4 to 5 months, if I'm not wrong. I can't remember exactly. Then later, after that, I was confirmed.
So during the acting period, you did real job?
Oh, massive. That's
when you got confirmed?
Yes. So one of the things that we really did was we brought in utilization rate of the levy to the higher. That means if you collected 100 ringgit, the utilization was 60+%, and my time it went up to almost 90%. So we ran a lot of programs. This is corporate style, so if people don't use, we go and ask them why you don't use. We encourage them to use and those kind of things. So carrot and stick kind of environment. If we don't use it for some of the time, we said we will take back the money. That's the stick. So we incentivize people to use the money and stuff like that. So we did. Then I got confirmed. In fact, I sort of doubled the profit of HRDF. We are not supposed to make money. We are not supposed to make money, but we had to make money because we run our operations on ourselves. So we don't, at that point of time, we don't get any support from the government. So we had to make a bit of money. And we wanted to expand. That means we wanted to go into bigger scopes and stuff like that. So we did that. So yeah, I was put in. So one of the things that I really saw when I went in was we did a study. Then we found out a lot of HRDF programs were supply driven. So it was like a training provider decides what kind of program that comes in, and they do it. And so I thought it was funny. So it's supposed to be demand driven. That means what customer wants is what you want to give. So that's one of the things that I fiercely undertook, which cost me a lot of trouble.
Now we come to the controversy.
Free to that. So that's one of it. The other thing that when we did the study, we realized 99% of all HRDF trainings were not certification trainings at that point of time when I was there. I'm not sure about now. So when we found out that, so this came from a study why the salary didn't go up. So the productivity went up to a certain point. We call it 1.8 point. The salary only went up by 0.2 or 0.3. So when we engaged the employers, we asked them why the salary didn't go up. They told us they said no. They don't have a certification. This guy is still in SPM. So Malaysia, they have this kind of attitude. If you are SPM or STPM, this is where stop. You cannot go higher than that. If you want to go into management, it's very structured, a very archaic system, a dinosaur system I call it. So when I was graduated 90 something, I got 1,800 ringgit pay, and when I was in HRDF 2000, I became CEO in 2015-16. That time the starting pay was still 1,008. So I was baffled. So I said, okay, let's do a study. Then that's where we found out these things came in. So what I did was I said, look here, we go for certification programs. So when we talked to the employers about certification programs, the employers said, no, we will decide what we want to give. So I told them, sir, this is a fund by the government. So the government has a say on how to run it. So I actually spearheaded a campaign to take 30% out to put into a special fund where we train people on high skills certification programs. So that was another thing that I did. So I got the approval from the Economic Council, TM at that point of time. We brought it back to the board. We pushed it through, and that became a bigger controversy. So the employer said, this is our money. How can you decide to spend it on our behalf? So I said, you let your staff decide. That means, again, this bourgeois what do you call a struggle, the class struggle. For me, it's a class struggle. So I said, no, if I'm working in a company and I want to do a program which will increase my capability and which will force you to give me more pay, I should be able to do it. So I give the opportunity to the people. Of course, it was laced by a lot of controversies, a lot of controversies and stuff like that. So I think I was there for many years. And
at that time, who were more of your enemies? The bosses or your fellow training companies and all that?
I think I took enemy from everywhere. But I was warned, to be fair. I was warned by my board. They were telling that I'm biting too much, then I can munch. So they said, Vix, you're biting too much, then you could munch. But again, I always knew my time will be short.
So you were with Dato Subra as the minister.
Correct. Dato Sri Richard.
Then Dato Sri Richard. And then we had the
YB Kula.
The change of government.
Change of the government. So May 2018, if I'm not wrong. So we had that.
That time you were in the papers a lot?
Oh yeah, fantastic a lot. I think I was one of the most highly decorated guys in the paper at that point of time. So complaints were nothing new. So when I was in whether in Dato Sri Subra or what do you call Dato Sri Richard, complaints were fantastic. I mean, I was in the papers for all the wrong reasons and the right reasons. So the both the times. So both the times. So, but when the change of government happened, a lot of these people who I engaged took an opportunity. So they created, created a kind of perception, public perception. So I didn't handle the perception very well. I mean, let's be the fact. I mean, being me, I didn't have any godfather who will protect me. So I didn't handle the perception game very well, and I came out in paper. So a lot of allegations were thrown out and stuff like that. So in the beginning, when the YB Kula came in, I told him, I say, YB, if you want me to leave, I will leave. Because that's the same arrangement I did with Dato Sri Richard. I said, the moment you think that I'm not working very well with you, you can ask me to leave, but please give me all my compensations, my retirement benefits and stuff like that. So he agreed to that. The same deal was happening. And in the beginning, YB said, no problem, I want you to stay because you're the right guy for the job. And the pressure went on. Then they had a town hall where a lot of accusations were thrown, and a lot of controversies were brought up, and they said I had evidence, distinct evidence to be given. All these kind of things panned out. So
that's when the MACC came into the picture.
Yeah. So, but MACC didn't come at that point of time. So I tendered my resignation. I tendered my resignation. I said I'm a gentleman. I was raised by a good mother. So I went in. I said, look here, there's so much controversy. I think
so it wasn't the minister; it's the people around the minister that actually got you the.
Definitely. He was very cordial. He was very cordial, and he was very appreciative and stuff like that. So I told him straight. He was a lawyer, so in fact. So I told him straight. I said, YB, I think this is a bit hard to work, and you being pressured, and I'm being pressured. The organization is being. Is not doing its duties. I think that is very important because we have a national agenda for us to work where the organization must be functioning at a full capacity to make changes, to bring what they call advancement to the country. So that's most important. So I said, okay, YB, this is my resignation. I immediately wrote a letter. Hereby, I tender my resignation immediately. A lot of people called me stupid. Okay. They said you should have put this condition, that condition. I said,
the minister didn't stop you? Or?
He didn't do that. He said, he was being pressured by all these people from outside. He accepted it. We shook hands. We hugged, and he said, Vix, I will give you whatever compensation that you'll be given. I walked out. 2 days later, MACC came knocking. It was not a full-blown investigation. It was fact finding. Fact finding. So they massively it went on and on. What didn't help was all this news that came out in the in the newspaper smearing. So it was very fashionable and trendy at that point of time. Everyone had a controversy. Yes. Everyone had to do something. It was very fashionable, and I was in the front page of major newspapers for more than once. I think at least 5 to 6 times. I mean, there were a lot of things coming.
But things did go up well in the sense that MACC cleared you.
Yeah, definitely. They cleared me, and they were more further reports made, and cleared me again and again. So almost 3 times actually.
So good thing. So what are you doing now?
Okay, all those behind. Currently, I'm a group chairman for a company called Ramsol, Ramsol Berhad. So currently I'm heading the board, so I'm chairman of the board, and I do a lot of speaking engagement now these days. I do a bit more social work, a bit more than last time compared to my corporate days. I work for ASTI, Association of Science, Technology and Innovation, where we teach school children how to think scientifically, and hopefully we can build scientists in Malaysia. So that's our main aim. We want to win Nobel Prize. That's what we are trying to push over there. And I give a lot of talks. Most of the time I give talks on IR 4.0 and do a bit of consulting here and there. Upliftment of the society. So I think that's what I'm doing. But so officially I'm a group chairman for Ramsol Group Berhad.
I see. And thank you very much, Dato C.M, actually for coming here and sharing so much about you, especially the Kepala Kari Ikan restaurant, you're working there and all that. It's actually, sometimes life is like that. Sometimes changes do come. And, when you face it, then you are successful.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like the old Kannadasan song. Sometimes you'll go on a boat, sometimes boat goes on you. So
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's all for this week. See you all next week.